Guys, welcome. Happy afternoon. I am joined by my good friend Amy Ransdell, and Amy is with REVA. And before I do anything else, I just want to say thank you, Amy, because you are amazing. Thank you for coming on and giving me some of your time. And thank you for connecting me with REVA. It's probably going on 9 or 10 months that I've been working with REVA, and we have multiple REVA virtual assistants that are just crushing it for our business right now. They are crushing it. I literally was looking at some of the statistics from yesterday, and one of our REVA VAs made like 1,500 follow-up phone calls in just the last 3 days, and I was just like, wow, that is so crazy. They are doing so awesome. So thank you for your time. Thank you for connecting me. Thank you. What's going on, Amy? How are you?
I'm great, and thank you for having me. Absolutely love all the stuff that you teach and do and help everyone with. It's amazing. Your business is amazing. So, thank you for having me. It's been a wild season. I know it's been that way for a lot of people. So, I'm excited to see what's coming for 2022. Big projections, and looking forward to every bit of it.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, it has been a wild season. It has been a really wild season, which is it is what it is, right? But we're still buying deals. We're still buying rental properties and wholesales and fix and flips. That has not stopped, right?
Yes,
And what
absolutely.
also hasn't changed is the number of hours that are in the day.
I so feel that, which is why you and I work so well together because that's the thing, right? So if we want to increase our workload or our production, have more revenue, more profits, more units closed, well, we have to somehow duplicate our processes and our systems and scale that. And the only way to scale that is through people, because I can't get God's not going to give me more hours, but He certainly can give me more people. So
That's exactly right. The amount of time is limited. And another thing, like most of my audience are real estate investors or people that are new and they want to be a real estate investor, or they're just getting started. All the above. Everybody's welcome, of course. But it kind of comes back to why, right? Why are people wanting to choose real estate? And typically, what I hear is, well, I want to get into real estate because I can make money. Well, that's great. I can create wealth. That's awesome, right?
yeah.
And I can achieve financial freedom. And that's the
Hmm.
goal. It's always the goal, right? Financial freedom. And if you're unaware with what that is or what that means, it means that the investments, your passive income from your investments, here's some of my investments behind me. Can't really see it that well with my camera angle here. But these investments bring in income at or above your expenses, your cost of living, right?
Yeah.
And a
But
lot
can
of
I
people, or go ahead, please.
I was going to say, I want to add to that. People also want freedom for their time.
That's where I was going next. That's right.
Yeah.
So, financial freedom is the first piece, right? Or it's really what you're able to achieve with real estate. And after you achieve financial freedom, meaning that your income exceeds what your expenses are, well, now you get, like Amy said, you get time freedom. And that's really the most coveted thing that I know of. I want the ability to do what I want, when I want, on my time, with who I want, right? And that's really the main goal. And if you are not leveraging other people to do that, you will never achieve financial freedom. Well, maybe not never, but it's going to take a long time. It's going to be much more difficult. And having time freedom is still probably going to be impossible, in my opinion, without leveraging other people, even if you have a bunch of money, because again, there's
Absolutely.
only so many hours in the day for everybody, right? And that's just how it works. So having virtual assistants has been a game changer in my business because it frees me up from making the 1,500 calls that I mentioned about over the last couple days. I'm not having to do that, right?
But it's
Um,
still happening for you.
but it's still getting done,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? If it's not getting done, you're not going to be able to move the needle. But if it's getting done, now what's happening is it's going to free me up to do the things that I'm either wanting to do and or I love that, and or the things that that I'm the best at and I should be focusing my energy on, right? So
Absolutely.
right now I have tons of VAs. I think I probably have like 6 or 7 of them, Amy. And I love every one of them. They're part of my team. They are essentially part of my family, my work family. And they're really good at their jobs. And that's another thing too, is like I don't ever want to try to be the master of everything, right? Because then what happens is you're the bottleneck, right? And you can't do, four things at once, 8 things at once. You might be able to do 2 things at once, maybe listening to a podcast and driving. But even that's, you should be focusing, right? But being able to have people in the right seat is going to be a game changer for your business, right? So we have cold callers, we have lead managers, we have acquisitions folks, we have bookkeeping, we have dispositions. And what it does is it allows me to do what I like to do, but also what I'm the best at. So some people are going to be like, when this next thing I say, Amy, they're going to be like, you're crazy. But I love running appointments. I do. I love it, right? And you're probably like, you're crazy, Dave. I don't know why. I love going out in the field, something new every day, meeting sellers. And I shine when I'm in the field. Like to build rapport, you need to get people to know you, like you, and trust you. And I'm pretty good at that. I can get out and I can have good energy and I can shake some hands and smile and listen. And that's really what I shine at and what I'm best at. So why wouldn't I want to do that as much as I possibly can?
And can I guess that that's an extremely important income producing activity for your company? Yes.
Yes, it might be the most important, or one of them. Right.
And so you call those IPAs, and I don't mean beer, right? Like, so your income producing activities are important. And I know so many clients we talk to, the reality is if you could have more, we bottleneck with all the other stuff we have to do, all the administrative tasks, all the other things. And so we don't spend the majority of our time doing the thing that we're best at. That's an income producing activity. And so imagine if you take all the hours that you're spending doing non-IPA activity and add that back into the income producing activity bucket of time, all of a sudden, think about what that does to your bottom line. And if you're spending 30% of your time right now making, and you're doing, 6 figures or 7 figures plus, great. Now spend 70% of your time or 90% of your time because you've taken stuff off your plate. That just doubled or tripled or more, 10x your income, right?
That's exactly
And
right.
it's something that it's powerful. And that's what having a skilled, dedicated team can do for you.
That's exactly right. I love it. So, running appointments is very important. And that could be outsourced with a local assistant or a local acquisitions person. But again,
I have that.
Yeah, but I enjoy doing it. So it's like, why would I want to outsource something that I love to do? Like if I could do nothing else, it would just be running appointments. And then and here's the thing, that's about what I do at this point, because I have a team in place to help me with all these other little pieces, right? And it's so incredibly amazing, right? So when I first started and I was full-time at this 7-8 years ago, the very first virtual assistant that I brought on was somebody to help me with my follow-up, right? And I was happy to make the calls and answer the calls and send the mail and run the appointments and make the offers. And that's a lot of things that I just mentioned, right? And that wasn't all of it. Accounting, closings, showing buyers, there's lots of things. But I found that I could do all of those things, but adding in all this follow-up from the last 3 or 4 months, like I couldn't do both. I had to do one or the other. And that first person I brought in is still with me to this day. And he helps with the follow-up, right? But that is such a relief to know that it's getting done.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it.
That's the first hire. When someone comes to me and they have no virtual assistants on staff yet, and they're in real estate, right? Whether they're on the real estate agent side or the investor side, if they have never brought on anybody yet, okay, and they're fairly newish on the pipeline building game, right? That's generally the first role I'm going to suggest to them is a follow-up VA, right? It's somebody that's just managing all your follow-up consistently for you every single day, because that's what they're dedicated to doing. That's all they do. So they don't have any distractions 100% all day. They're just doing follow-up, which could include also updating your CRM tool, whatever it is that you're using, adding notes, managing your database a little bit as well. But that way, it's done, because we all know that the gold is in the follow-up. We all
That's
know
a
that the
The
statistics say.
gold is in
We
the
all
follow-up.
do it.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely. 100%. Right. So then what I decided was, okay, I got the follow-up offloaded and it's generating deals because that's where the gold's at. But, then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm still kind of getting stretched a little thin with all this other stuff. What else could I outsource, right? So then I brought in another virtual assistant to help with all of the marketing, right? And I say all. When I brought them in, it was one thing, right? Let's focus on some cold calling, or let's focus on some cold texting. But then obviously over time, you can teach them to do more and more and more. And at this point, I've kind of offloaded all of it to a team of virtual assistants who do it all for me. It's amazing, right?
Yes.
And then what happens? Or go ahead, please.
I was going to say the lead generation part, that's always one of the first hires too. Like I always tell people, if you don't have a lead pipeline yet, then the first hire is a lead generation person, because they can cold call consistently for you all day. And we all know that that's one of the first areas, even if you love talking to people, it's one of the first areas that people burn out on, that you will tend to not be consistent with, because you're dealing with other reactionary items in your business. And so the cold call is like, oh, well, I'll do some this afternoon. Oh, well, I'll do some in the morning.
It
Oh, well,
always gets pushed off.
Yet it's
Always.
essential, right? So what if you have the virtual assistant, that's all they do every day is dedicated to outbound lead reach, right? Like they're lead generating. So cold calling, I love text message marketing. Again, that's what they're responsible for. So no
Yeah.
matter what you're doing, new leads are coming into your pipeline, which is the original source of the gold, right? So
Yes.
I would people, like when we interview them, I'm like, where are you at in your current lead generation right now? Because you're either going to need somebody right away to help build up your leads, or you're going to need somebody to just immediately start following up with the leads you have, right? So I love that you're doing that. I think that's an essential.
Yeah, so we got 60 hours a week of cold calling. I don't do
That's
it. It's outsourced. We have 20 to 30 hours a week of texting.
amazing.
That's outsourced. And then the virtual assistants that we have, they are trained. And here's the great thing, guys, these are people, right? You can teach and train them to do everything that you do on your behalf.
Yeah.
So my virtual assistants are running comps, making verbal offers, setting appointments. And this is where the magic really happens, right? First part there, that's the progression. But this is where you get your time back. So now I have a lead manager and an acquisition VA. They're virtual, right? But they will vet all the inbounds, they'll do outbounds, and all of them kind of come in and they determine what the level of motivation is. And then if there's a level of motivation that's acceptable, they'll either set an appointment or send an offer and even negotiate back and forth on my behalf without me knowing about any of that.
Wow.
And then they bring me in at the very last minute and they say, here's what we got this under contract for, here's what we made an offer for, and they accept it. Is it okay to send this over in writing? Or here's what I think this deal looks like. Can you view it next week on Tuesday afternoon? And it's like, of course, yes, be happy to do all of those things, because each of those things are very small in terms of time-consuming activities. They're just making decisions typically, right? But they are handling all of the legwork at this point. I mean, Amy, I couldn't imagine running my business without having a team, A, and B, having an awesome team of REVA virtual assistants. Right?
Well, I love that they're doing all that for you. A lot of people don't realize. So the CEO, the founder of REVA Global, and myself, we are also active investors. I'm also a broker. So I like you, I'm using virtual assistants to do that for me. So as I'm sitting here talking to you right now, right, just like you, I also have a virtual assistant. He's texting, another one's following up. Somebody else is doing some disposition work right now. So you can have so much of your business just automated and consistent no matter what you're doing. And so I love that you're handling handing so much stuff off to so many people. Because if you think about it, again, you have that little small piece left, but now you have your whole day to do tons of those small pieces. And so your production can go through the roof, right? Where somebody might be capped at, I can only go handle one appointment a day, you can handle multiple, which means you guys can tweak your lead generation to get stronger and stronger and have more and more coming in the front end of the pipeline, because you're available to go do the work that actually gets the close and gets it sold. So I think
exactly right. So I have some social media VAs that help me with, just creating content and posting, and they actually scheduled this with your VA. My VA scheduled it with your VA, and then my VA went into Restream and created the event, created the thumbnail for the event, and me and you, we just showed up.
We did.
Right? And we have live viewers watching. We just showed up. We obviously had the idea, hey, let's get together and connect. Let's have my assistant contact your assistant, and then boom, we're here with all of those things. It's so awesome. Now, one thing that I do want to highlight is by having this team, A, it's going to make you happier because you're not going to be as stressed and spread so thin. But B, because you're able to get your business to run without you, that also means that you can take a trip or a vacation or turn your phone off. My phone is on right now, but typically it's off, right?
Yeah.
Right? Typically my phone will be off during the day so I can focus on whatever it is that I need to focus on. And the balls aren't getting dropped. There's follow-up still being made. There's marketing still going. There's offers being sent. There is appointments being scheduled, right? Yeah. So I'm actually going to be down with Bob, you had mentioned, next week in Mexico. I can't wait. And the whole time I'm down there, offers are going to be made. Appointments will be run because I do have other people that help with that, of course. Mm-hmm. Follow-ups, new marketing, all the above. There might even be 2 or 3 deals that get closed while I'm not even in the country, right? So by having the team and leveraging other people, you can then free up yourself to not only be more efficient, but also, here's the thing, more effective.
Yes.
Right? So like busy work is often required. Let's be honest. But it doesn't mean it's required that you have to be the one to do that stuff, right? So when you can free up your time, now you can start working on your business versus spending all of your energy working in your business.
Absolutely. And we go all the way back to when we started and are talking about why people go into this business, right? We have this dream of entrepreneurship. All the books promise, right, that you're not going to work for the man anymore. You're going to have all the control and all the freedom. The reality is you're still building a business, and there's a million moving parts that have to be managed, right? And so what'll happen is we end up not liking our business because we're exhausted, because we're running around all day, and then we're at night, we're trying to keep up with paperwork stuff, and oh wait, I didn't post that blog article, or I didn't do my social media for the day, or whatever. And so before we know it, we're overwhelmed, right? And we're juggling way too many hats. We feel spread from one thought process to another thought process, and we're kind of dizzy, right? This is the power of scaling through team members who are each dedicated and focused on their specific task or their specific skill level, right? For what they're responsible for. And this is how you do that. So yeah, you're going to go down to an event down there in Mexico. Think about how many of you want to attend masterminds and you don't because you're at a ceiling
of
what
leave the business.
You can't leave the business, right?
I can't get away, right?
Can't scale your income up because it's just you, and so you don't even want to spend the money on the mastermind, and then you're worried about being out of town for 2 or 3 days or a week or whatever it is.
We're all juggling a lot of balls as investors, right? In real estate, it doesn't matter if you're wholesaling, fix and flip, doing rentals and Burr method like me. That's my passion. It doesn't matter. We're juggling a lot of balls. We only have 2 hands, and there's only 24 hours in a day. So it's like for how many hours can I stand here and juggle for one? And for 2, how many of these balls am I going to get up in the air? But when you bring in help and leverage other people, and here's the thing, Amy, I feel like, and this is a humble brag, I feel like I'm pretty good at most things, but I'm not better than my team at everything, right? I'm good at a lot, and I would imagine, most people tend to think the same way that I do. I'm pretty good at this, right? But when you empower a team member, and specifically a REVA virtual assistant, to come on and you say, hey, here's how we're doing it. Maybe you can help and find a better way to do it.
Yes.
And guess what happens? They find better ways to do these things.
They do.
So
if you
not
will
only do
empower
they get more, sorry, go ahead.
well, I'll say you got to empower them to do that, right? Like, and that's
Absolutely.
so many of us. Again, that's the entrepreneur trap. It's one of the many things that we'll do. Like, for instance, we'll do stuff all day long. That's $15 an hour type activity, convincing ourselves we're saving money when really what we're doing is we're keeping ourselves from all the things that do make us money. And then secondly, we convince ourselves that nobody can do it as good as I can. So I have to keep it on my plate because nobody can do it as good as me. The reality is, absolutely, people can do it better than you. And
They
if
can
you
do it
will
as good and better.
right. So put them on board so that they can do that for you. And if you empower them to tell you how it can be done more efficiently or inject their opinions and creativity and resourcefulness into the process, then all of a sudden what you wanted becomes 10x better. Like it's all they will shock and surprise you at what they'll suggest if you give them that empowerment.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They want you to empower them because if I'm working for somebody, I want them to not just tell me, "Hey, just follow this script and do this like this." Like if you want to go off the trail, off the beaten path here because it's a better way to do it, then do it, right? Let's
Yeah.
make a new trail this way because it's going to be better, right? So I love empowering my team because they typically solve problems that I think are either unsolvable or aren't worth the hassle. And then before you know it, everybody's working together and you're moving. You're not just being busy, and I like to say sometimes, like, I came home from work and it's like, oh, I was really efficient today, right? I got all the emails responded and I took a bunch of calls and I got the texts out and closed on this and helped the bookkeeper with that and talked to these acquisitions guys, but it may not have been very effective, right? So busy isn't always good, right? So my mindset at this point is I'm happy to do all those things I mentioned, but just not every day.
Yeah.
Let's bulk those activities so I can be effective, because effective, when you are acting as effective, you're working on your business typically, and you are moving the needle, which means
Yeah.
you're making income, you're making money. That's what we
Oh,
all want, money, right?
absolutely.
100%. So I love it. I love REVA VAs. They are absolutely crushing it for me when it comes to the lead management, when it comes to the acquisitions, when it comes to running comps, talking to sellers, following up. I don't have enough fingers on this hand. Setting appointments, and really just building rapport. Amy, you want to hear something hilarious? So I have two REVA VAs right now, and when they set appointments for me and I show up, now they know that I'm the owner. They know that they are setting the appointment with the seller for, Mr. and Mrs. Seller and Dave. But sometimes when I show up, they're like, I thought I was meeting with Dennis or Casey.
Right.
And I'm like, well, they work for me. They're great, but I'm the buyer. Is it okay if you talk to me? But it's the reason that I'm saying that is because they build so much rapport that
Yes.
sometimes they get disappointed that I'm there and not them.
Yes.
How funny is that?
I love that. And we have something similar. I have a personal assistant. It's like you were talking about all the different tasks, right? Guys, you personal assistants, bookkeeping, social media management. Like I have a personal assistant, not real estate, my personal assistant.
Yeah, same.
Things I do. And his name is Ron, and he's amazing. And so he's the first line of defense or point of contact with many people who
Now
try
you
to
have a gatekeeper?
I have a gatekeeper, right?
Yeah.
He's amazing. I don't have to, there's so many things I don't have to think about because Ron's in the middle. Okay, now, what's so cool is though people fall in love with Ron and they'll come to my office. I have a physical office. They'll come in the door and the first thing they do is look for Ron. And I'm like, he's not here.
He's not here, but isn't he great? We love Ron.
Ron is so cool. Like they actually get to know him and befriend him. And then sometimes, I do wish he was here physically because he's just so great with all of our people, so professional and so communicative. And and again, you can have that with a virtual assistant. I think a lot of people have this misconception of what virtual assistants actually are. They are talented, educated individuals just like us, right? And you're going to select and find the one that fits best in the box of skills that you need. Right. But they are just like us. Ron is a brilliant, educated young man who's also an entrepreneur. There's a lot of really amazing things about Ron. Okay.
Sure.
right? And I love that I can hand things off to him with confidence at his skill level, and he's going to crush it. And all I need to do, to you were talking about efficiency, all I have to do to be effective, right, is to meet with my virtual assistants to make sure that they're meeting the metrics of what we've set for them to do, right? They need to do reporting. If you guys are listening to this, you do want to be involved with your virtual assistants, checking in with them. I'm sure you probably hold meetings and check-ins, might have to start
We
a
have
business.
weekly meetings for certain topics and daily meetings for others. And it's got
Yes,
different people that are looped in on each of these things. But I'm more than happy to do a daily meeting for 10 minutes and not have to do 8 hours of that task. And I'm not saying that task is, here's another thing that I don't want to come off as saying that like I'm better than these tasks. I'm not at all. I'll cold call right now. I have no problem with that. Right. Yeah, I don't mind. It's actually kind of fun to do that sometimes, right? I'm not, but I can't do all of them all the time, right?
Right.
So having the leverage of the team is really what drives the needle, in my opinion, because again, we get into real estate because we want freedom, both financial and time. But what ends up happening, Amy, is that people leave the 40-hour-a-week job at, I'm throwing out a random number, 50, 60 grand, 70 grand. And then they go work 70 or 80 hours and they're lucky to make that.
Right. And so they go from one job to creating another job.
Another job.
Right? And then what breaks my heart is that they'll go into this dream, creating themselves this other job again. And they have this dream of a bank account that's 2 or 3 times the size of the job they just had. But then they're doing tasks all day that only are, they're like $15 an hour type tasks. And the reality is your bank account's going to look like the work you're doing. Period. So if you want, 6 or 7 figure bank account, you can't do what you can hire someone else to do for you for, much less. So you've got to bring on people and then pay them accordingly and bucket out all the things that enable you to go do those 6-figure and 7-figure activities.
I love it. So I have a list of stuff right here, and I'm not going to read every item, of course, because I don't want to bore everybody. But like, if you're a real estate agent or broker, or even a property manager, or an investor like me, wholesaler, landlord, fix and flip, all the above, here's just a short list of some of the stuff that you can have your virtual assistant help you with, guys. So outbound calling, lead cultivation and follow-up. You can have them listening to feedback from follow-up calls, appointment setting, transaction coordination, which actually I undermine because that is a whole job, right? We have a transaction coordinator, and that's all that they do is just make sure that the seller and the buyer are going to be at the closing, or that we're going to be there, or that the lender's lined up and that all the docs are there. It's a lot of back and forth. It's time consuming. If you're doing 1 or 2 deals a month, you might be able to manage that. But when you do 10, 12, 15 deals in a month, no way. You need a full-time person for that, right? MLS and CRM management, huge, right? When I first started, Amy, I was in my CRM 7 to 10 hours a day.
Oof.
Now, 7 years later, I'm in my CRM 7 to 10 minutes a day.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't know how.
And here's the truth of it. I'm not even in there every day. Sometimes 3 or 4 days will go by, and then I'll go in and I'll look at 5, 20, 30 things, click them out. I'm done 10 minutes later, right? So
similar here. In fact, there's a couple things I didn't know how to do because I'm in there so.
I love it.
Guess who I asked? I asked Oz, who's a virtual assistant on our team, because he knows how to use my CRM better than I do.
Yes.
Because that's his job.
So property research, comping, right? Let's see here, bookkeeping, scheduling. I even have some blog writing from one of my VAs. I'm like, if you get bored and I don't have a ton of stuff for you, I was like, go find some great real estate content. Help me write some blogs. I may use it in a YouTube video, or we might just post it on the website, right? You had mentioned social media, all marketing, right? So calling lists, following up with lists, answering inbound, right? All of that is really marketing, just lead management and customer acquisitions. You can have your virtual assistants build your cash buyers lists. You can have them go scrape emails, or really just go and find other investors that have deals, call them, ask them what they're looking for. I know a lot of people, when they get started, they reverse wholesale, which means they just find 2 or 3 or 10 buyers in their market that are doing volume, and they just say, hey, this is gonna be really easy if I can just point, if I can just focus my marketing headlight on the zip codes you buy. Now I don't even have to worry about finding that buyer. I know you do. Let me find that deal for you, right? Love that, right? Contract to close, marketing. Marketing on the front end, but I often discount that there's also a lot of work on the back end. You get a deal that you want to wholesale, you got to market that. Or even if it's a fix and flip, you have to list it, right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of work that's involved in getting all that information in the system, so on and so forth. Bookkeeping, I think I managed. You can even have your virtual assistants help with project management.
Oh, absolutely.
Rehab, documents and accounting and bookkeeping, all of the above. Love
You can
that.
have them
Anything
call.
creative, web or social media there's a whole list of all that. Any social media, you name it, posting content, creating content, helping you manage what another full-time job is managing the communication on social media.
Oh my
Between
goodness.
Facebook messages, Instagram, YouTube.
And
It's all day long. So I don't mind jumping in and helping, but like if I can have somebody else do that, so I can do, like I said earlier, what I love to do, either go run appointments, manage my team, or go hang out on the beach. That's what I want to do.
in fact, we call it social selling, right? Imagine having a virtual assistant who's just within all of your social media accounts, and they're connecting with people, and they're starting threads, and people are commenting, and they're giving them their emails. They're able to scrape all that information, follow up with people. Like there's a whole bunch of lead generation stuff that can happen, especially on the disposition and marketing side, working with agents and things like that. That is so awesome to be done through social media. We do it with transactional lending, all kinds of things. So yes, if you think about how much business you could do just if somebody did that all day. Now, the funny thing is I have someone who does that for me, so they think it's me. It's not me.
That's right. I got two people that do it for me too. It's crazy, but it's so great because they're doing video editing and they're posting and they're managing the comments and they're and the greatest thing is like, again, you only have so much time in the day, right? But like I want to be able to provide as much value and spread as much value as I can. So I have a lot of free products and courses. Well, when somebody reaches out on these random platforms, they don't have to wait 3 or 5 days for me to get around to getting it. I can be like, hey, check out this free course I made, or watch this video that I made, or here's a free ebook that I can give you that's going to basically walk you through what you're looking to do and learn right now. So the speed is also so incredibly important because there's no wait. It's like they're in there managing that all day. Whereas I might not get in there for 2 weeks.
Right. And it's the speed, and it's while they're at their highest level of motivation, and they're able to scrape and cull the people's information and get them into your actual kinetic database. This is what social media, one of the most
I often discount that, but that's very important.
It's extremely powerful because social media is awesome, but one of the most difficult parts of social media is pulling people from the social platforms into your actual database. But if you have a virtual assistant that's skilled at doing that, at getting a link sent to them right away in their inbox and following up with them right away, and they're going to be able to collect more and more of those people, pulling them into something
which is going to give you more opportunity to do business with them in some way, shape, or form. Yes. Absolutely. I have my virtual assistants book my flights and hotels.
Yeah.
I have my virtual assistants manage my calendar. I have them send out surveys to sellers and get testimonials from sellers, from buyers, from students. They help manage that entire process. And sometimes it may even be as simple as just some data entry, right? I mean, that's the simplest thing, of course. But like, here's the thing, data entry, $5-10 an hour, $15 an hour, depending on the data, of course. But it's not $50, $100, $300 an hour, right? I want to focus my time on the highest dollar an hour task that I can, because again, that's what's going to make you effective. That's what's going to move the needle to put more money in your pockets, right? Uploading content, like I had mentioned. Let's see here. There's so many things. Posting ads, drafting emails, sending agreements, managing the title communication, responding to emails. This is something, again, often discount this. I don't know about you, Amy, but I get minimum 80 emails a day.
Yeah.
Minimum. But if I only need to look at 20 of them or 10 of them, or in some cases 5 of them, I can have somebody else go in and just help unsubscribe, remove them from my inbox so I'm not wasting time looking at this stuff. and they'll leave the important stuff in there. And if it's really important, they may even respond on my behalf and CC me and just say, hey, I'm working with Dave on this right now. We haven't forgot about you. We're trying to get what you need, but we just want to reach out and let you know that, we're here. You just,
And from a rapport perspective, how powerful is that, right? Because if you think about the meaning that someone will associate with you not replying right away, they'll immediately assume that you're not a well-formed company, or that you're not professional, or that you don't care about them, or all these things go through their head. You have somebody that's immediately following up. Boom, you have now kept yourself into a very professional rapport with everyone that's hitting your inbox. So that alone can be worth a year worth of a virtual assistant. Just one email can become that valuable for you. So you were listing out some things. I wanted to add property management. Like, you're in the rental and the burr space, right?
Yeah.
Property management, most of that can be handled by virtual assistants. Almost all of it. They can't do site inspections, but that's just about it. They can do everything
else.
They can get bids
for
repairs.
Follow up to collect payment. They can deal with the cleaning companies. They can deal with the contractors.
Absolutely.
They can deal with the attorneys if you're doing evictions. They can help with the leasing. They can take the calls from the actual tenants with their, any items or tickets or issues. All of that. And in fact, I work with 3 different property management companies to manage my roughly 90 units. And almost all of them have virtual assistants.
Yes,
and it doesn't bother me. I love it. I'm like, hey, they're doing it better than you are. Yeah. They essentially are on my team as well, right? It's so cool. Love it.
In the short-term rental space, especially, we're seeing that more and more too. Everybody's jumping into short-term rentals. There's so many phone calls. People, they're moving in and out of the units. There's a lot of moving parts with short-term rentals. All of that can be handled by that virtual assistant.
There's a lot of moving parts. Yep.
Yes.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Amy, tell us a little bit about why REVA.
Oh boy. Well, okay, so obviously I'm a little biased, right? But
I am too. I love REVA, but I want you to, tell us a little bit about it, because I've given a lot of my perspective. Obviously, I talk a lot, so I want to give you that opportunity.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, because we are unique in the space of virtual assistants. There are so many options out there for how you can hire one, find one, and so forth. What we found out years ago through just dealing with virtual assistants ourselves, working with clients that were dealing with negative situations with virtual assistants, that there were a lot of problems that needed to be solved to make the industry better. And so we like to say that we've disrupted the outsourcing industry. And here's how we've done that. When you hire virtual assistants with REVA, number one, we are not a warehouse of resumes, meaning that you call us up or get on our website and you try to find a VA with the skill sets and so forth that you hope match what you need, that you hope that they're still looking for a job, that you hope you can line up an interview. And I mean hope, because that's what happens out there. We actually are a company that brings talent into our pool all the time. We're out there doing that. We hire them. We bring them in, even if we don't have a client to place them with. And because we have one of the best corporate cultures ever for the virtual assistant side, we treat them like family. It's one of our core values. In fact, it's our number one core value is family first. We treat the VAs so well.
And I'm not even talking about the 2 that I have on my team. I'm talking about your organization. Anytime I'm talking to anybody, I feel like I'm talking to somebody on my team.
Yeah.
That family first mindset, it shows. I love it.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to emphasize that point.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did. It is a prime directive of everyone that works within the company, so that everyone has the same experience, both the clients that are hiring the virtual assistant as well as the virtual assistants. We want them to also have a powerful experience. And because of that, we are able to attract some of the best talent. Right? We have a waiting list of people trying to get in the door to be a REVA Global employee, and then they never want to leave us because we treat them very well. Yeah. So all the virtual assistants that come in, they're getting benefits, and they're getting all kinds of.
They pass like proficiency testing, well as like personality tests, and they also receive coaching and business development and support. So before they even join your team, they've been with REVA in the company already for a couple of weeks already, and they've basically learned a ton of things that is going to basically allow them to hit the ground running.
Absolutely.
When you bring them on. You don't have to. Now, here's the thing. You're going to need to train your VAs to do it the way you want to do it, no matter what, right? But let's just say if you could essentially get a VA and they're 80% of the way there already, and now you just tweak them to do it how you want to do it, why would you ever want to start at zero?
And, and then in the middle of that, but even in that middle part, one of the reasons we do all of that is that we want to make sure that we are well aware of their experience level verified, their actual skills, their personality. We personality test them. We use more than one indicator to determine what their personality is. We all know how vitally important that is if we hire someone in our physical office, right? Same thing applies with a virtual assistant. If you want somebody to cold call for you and be highly communicative and build rapport with sellers or take your inbound lead calls, that's somebody that needs to have strong English proficiency, language proficiency, strong communication skills.
Good
There's
energy.
a lot
Yes.
good energy. They need to be an extroverted person. You think about a disc profile of a cold caller versus a disc profile of a data entry person. It's a very different set, right?
Way different ballpark.
Very different.
Right.
And so at REVA Global, we're doing all of that work, right? And we have an extreme retention rate at REVA Global. So you may even be placed with a VA that's been with us for years, right? And that's now ready to work with a new client or et cetera. So we know, really, really know that they are going to be the right fit, which brings me to something else. When you come to us through our intake process and let us know what you're looking for, we're going to go into our talent pool and we're going to select 4 or 5 virtual assistants that we believe match what you're looking for the best.
I love this.
Waste hours and hours and hours hunting through resumes, setting up interviews that people never show up, not even being able to verify they actually have the skills they need, not even knowing anything about their history or whether it's real or
vetted.
not.
It's pre-vetted.
And pre-vetted, and you don't know too if they're going to be moonlighting and handling like 7 clients at once. So are they even really working for you? Like, we've solved all of those problems. So we place the right person with you. Once you select them, here's another kicker. You don't just get a virtual assistant with REVA Global. What you've experienced is that we give you a team approach.
You get a team.
So you get a virtual assistant that's yours, that you build your long-term relationship with, 20 or 40 hours a week. That's how we place them. Mm-hmm. But you're also assigned an HR person, a client service manager, and they're all checking in with you too.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 other people that I've checked in with throughout the month.
Yeah.
But it also makes it really, really, I love that because I don't have to make sure that VA that we bring on is staying busy. Now, obviously, I want them to tell me when they're not so I can find other things. But I don't have to be like micromanaging and keeping an eye on them. Somebody else is, and it's not just one person over on your all's team. It's multiple layers. There's multiple layers of it, and that's my favorite part. So if you do have an issue for whatever reason, you don't necessarily have to go straight to that VA and have that awkward conversation. You can go to the level of management above it, and you can say, you know what, and this has happened to me a couple times, not recently, but a couple years ago. I went through 3 or 4 VAs, and it was because I wasn't doing a very good job of managing them. It was my fault. It really was. But having the conversation with them was awful. So I was just like, you know what, let's just start fresh. And I went to the higher level of management, and they were like, hey, no problem. Let's swap this person out. We'll get you a new person. That way it's not awkward for you, because I know that that's a big deal for a lot of people. Like, I'm not a good manager, or this is new to me, or I don't want to have to hire or fire people. Well, guess what? You have help.
You have help. And that's part of our guarantee, is that we're going to make sure that you never have lag time, right? If something doesn't work out with a virtual assistant for whatever reason, things don't work out with people in our offices too, right? I mean, we're talking about humans here, okay? But we have a guarantee that we're going to step in and we're going to help you with that. And throughout the time with that VA, we're checking in on engagement. Are you able to engage well? Is the VA engaging well? We're helping with performance reviews. We're helping with all kinds of things, taking all of that stuff off your plate, right? We also additionally are taking off other things. When you hire a VA through us, you're not paying payroll taxes, you're not worrying about benefits.
And that is huge.
None of that. Right? We're taking care of all of that. We keep the process streamlined and simplified. We do a biweekly billing cycle. You just pay us flat. That's it. You don't worry about anything else. It's on us to worry about everything else, so that you just focus on production, right? That's where we want you to stay.
Amy, I love that you mentioned that, because having to sit down and do payroll and make sure that they're showing up, I mean, that in itself is a lot of work. It's time consuming, and sometimes it can be frustrating because it's pulling you away, right? It's another ball that you're juggling, and it's going to eat up a part of your day. And I'll tell you right now, I wasn't even thinking about that at all until you mentioned it. But that's also such a great thing is that, like, I just get a bill at every other week. It's so simple. I don't have to manage that person or pay that person or deal with any of that of that stuff like you had mentioned. It's done for me. It's awesome. And you guys offer health insurance to the virtual assistants?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. We treat our virtual assistants so well
I mean,
that we are one.
that's amazing because they're not going to ever want to leave.
No, they don't. And so our retention is
It's
truly the best
probably,
in the industry
yeah.
on both ends of the spectrum because we treat the virtual assistants so well. So not only do we give them health benefits, they're also getting, we have scholarship programs and credit repair programs.
Oh
And like
man.
we, oh yeah, it's amazing what we do for them and their families because we want them to stay so that our clients, when you create a bond with a highly skilled, talented virtual assistant that you become close to because they become a part of your family as a team member, we want them to be so well supported that that stays for as long as you need it to stay, right? So we're working very diligently at this on all ends of the company, and in the world of virtual assistants, we hear the feedback from other companies. We hear the feedback from our own VAs who've said, yeah, I worked for these other companies, they never treated me this well. So that serves our clients well. You can rest assured that your VA is not going to leave because they're being treated so well on both ends. We just ask also that if you're going to hire a virtual assistant through us, that you also treat them well, right?
Of
Treat them
course.
well, affirm them, engage them, give them, bonus them if you feel like that's an important thing to do. Really be involved with them, grow them like you would someone in your office, invest in that, help grow their skills, affirm when they do something well, give them constructive feedback. They want that as well. They're looking for that. Tell them if they're not doing something well, and then guide them through helping them turn that around, and then acknowledge that when they do, just like you would someone in your office.
So before we wrap up, I want to just elaborate on that really quickly. In the beginning, you're going to want to give them a lot of attention, but here's the cool part. That's not a forever thing.
No.
Like this may sound crazy, but like there'll be like 4 day periods, gaps where I won't talk to certain of my VAs, not because I'm avoiding them. It's because they're in their lane doing their
Right.
job and they don't need me. And when they do
Yes.
reach out and they say, I got a hot one, Dave, this guy's ready to sell, or I got you an appointment, or we sent an offer 3 weeks ago and I've been following up and he finally signed it. I'm like, bring it home, baby. This is great, right? Let's do it.
And that's what we want, right?
That.
Yeah, I mean, if you hire someone in your office, you want the same thing, right? You want to train them up so that they feel autonomic in doing what they do, right? That you give them some autonomy, you empower them to take their role and do well with it, and then you're just meeting with them to measure performance.
Exactly.
You're going to want to get to the same place with your virtual assistant. So yes, in the beginning, you're going to spend some time to make sure that they're doing the processes you need them to do the way you want them done. Okay. But then from there forward, you should be able to meet with them just like you would a team member in the office to just see where things are going and then give them that feedback when it's not going the way it needs to. So you can continue to help them grow in their role, right? They want that freedom. They want to get to that point where they feel, empowered to just do their job and do it well.
My buddy Rich Groves, he says, I've used them in the last year and love them, Rich. Me and you both. I love them too. Guys,
Yeah.
There should be a link below this video where you can go and you can sign up. And if you don't use that link and you go direct to REVA, that's totally cool. Just tell them that David Dodge sent you and they will take extra good care of you guys. They will.
Absolutely.
They take care of me. I can't imagine not having virtual assistants in my business. And I've used several companies in the past, and I'm not here to down talk or say negative things about anybody. So I'm not going to do that. But what I can say is, don't go use those people that have failed me. Come to REVA. They're going to hook you up. And they're going to be, and they have amazing people. They come pre-trained, pre-screened. They get health insurance. They're a big family. They're going to be part of your work family. And they're ultimately going to do lots of things, right? Lots of things. But ultimately what they're going to do is they're going to allow you to have your time back. And hopefully you can use that time to be effective. You guys keep hearing me say this in your business so you can move the needle, so you can achieve both financial freedom and time freedom. Guys, that's the goal. I mean, what else do we aspire for, right? And if there are things, they're probably little baby steps to get to financially and time freedom. That's it. That's the name of the game. So again, there should be a link below this video where you guys can get more information. There's actually a free download at that link as well. And it's 100+ tasks that can be done for you by virtual assistants. And let me tell you, I love it because my partner and I will review this 100+ task download. It's like a little ebook, maybe like 5, 6, 7 pages or whatnot. But we'll review it once a month because there's things on the list that we're like, oh, we're doing this still, or the VAs can easily take this off of our plate. So I keep going back to this, and again, there will be a link below. Or you can connect with me, guys. Send me an email, hit me up on any of the socials, and I'll connect you, of course. But we'll go through there and we're like, oh my goodness, this is another thing we could offload from our plate. And the goal is to get your business running on autopilot. And you can't do that by yourself. It is impossible. Think of this, right? Think of having the mindset of who, not how. It's a Dan Sullivan book. I just read it the other day. Man, love that book. But think about who, not how. And when you start embracing that type of mindset and ideology, you will really start to scale your business. I love it. Amy, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure to get to connect with you and talk about REVA and how virtual assistants have changed our lives. We both have several of them, not only in business, but also personal. That's another thing too. Don't discount this and think that this is just business, right?
No.
I have my virtual assistant book doctor's appointments and, do personal things, make dinner reservations for me and my wife. I'll even sometimes have them go on and help me send flowers or cookies or whatever to different clients as a thank you. Just all these things, right? They can do all of them. They have a computer, they have a phone, and they have a brain. That's all it takes.
Right.
But you can't do it all yourself, right? You can't.
Right. Absolutely. 90% of what we all do is done by phone and computer. That means that 90% of what we do can be done by someone else.
By somebody else. We can outsource it.
Give it to them.
I love it. Amy, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Guys, don't forget, click the link below. You can download a free ebook. It's basically more of a pamphlet per se. It's 100+ tasks though. And this is a great exercise because it will open up your eyes to all of these things that you're doing without even knowing it, that you can stop doing. You can bring some help in and outsource these activities. And once you train them to do it, they're going to probably do it better than you are. I mean, I wouldn't have, like most of the things that my VAs do for me, they're better at it because they're doing it all the time, right? I love it. I love it. All right, Amy, with that, we're going to be signing off, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for attending. And I can't wait for you guys to get yourself a VA from REVA Global. They are going to take your business to new heights. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.